Hey, you like calls? I'm back to the regular schedule program. It's just me. It's just you. Welcome back. CarQuicks podcast. Let me do this properly as we always do every week. And that is episode 92. CarQuicks podcast. Welcome back. No, there's no interview this week. That was a special little episode I did last week with the VP of SEMA events, Tom Gattuso, and that was an enjoyable experience. More than I really thought I would actually like, because I've avoided, not that I've had people just knocking on my door like, hey, I want to do an interview with you, I want to do an interview. I'm just saying the idea of getting somebody on for an interview wasn't anything on my agenda, because I purposely wanted to make sure that this podcast was run on a solo mission so that I could do it at any point in time that I needed to without any static, without any stipulations, without any schedule conflicts, just being able to just flow through the news and give it out. So I appreciate his time. I appreciate the SEMA organization even organizing that, the people I dealt with to even get me in line in front of somebody like that. And I look forward to actually meeting him in person and shaking his hand when I'm at the SEMA Auto Show, the SEMA show this year in 2025 in November, because you know I'm gonna be there, okay? Guaranteed. Now, this is back to the normal car news podcast. Welcome to CarQuicks, episode 92. If this is your first time here, you got 91 other episodes to go check out, and you should join the journey, like, subscribe, follow, and just tell a friend to tell a friend. This is a cool place to be. And if you are into cars, if you're into the automotive news, and you're just into wanting to know what's up and coming, what's recent, my opinion on things, a little bit of comedic relief, and just things of that nature, you've come to the right place. Okay, we're here. Now I'm going to drive right into some news, and I'm going to drive into something that I actually am excited to talk about, because it actually gets rid of an idea that I previously had, more of a worry, not even an idea, more of a concern, like, ooh, I don't know if they're going to do this car justice. And that is back to Nissan, okay? Nissan, as we know, has stopped the production on the GTR, the one we currently know now, the R35. And when that ended production, obviously, all the car enthusiasts and all the media outlets for automotive industry said, when is the next GTR? Because whatever Nissan's going through when it comes to their financial woes or the company structure, the things they're trying to do to right the ship of things that may not have gone so well, the one thing that we know is that the GTR name means way too much to just let go or let be done on the R35. They're going to make sure that they continue to build this thing out for the foreseeable future. So whatever the R36 was going to be was always a concern, because the previous CEO, not the previous CEO, the current CEO, who used to be like the president, had a line where he said last year that the EV GTR was a good, compelling idea because the way it would deliver performance and deliver power was more so than what the combustion engine could do. And I said in my podcast, I was like, I don't know. I know that they're saying this dude's a car guy, but if he was caught in a public forum talking about his excitement about the idea of an electric-only GTR, I was like, listen, we gotta put both cards on the table and see which one he's gonna play. Well, it's safe to say that the all-electric GTR idea has been publicly chucked out the window, okay? And that's because the senior VP of, what is his line? His whole position was like the senior VP of like models, I guess maybe engineering, but he's over the GTR entire story as far as what it's going to do, what it's going to be, how they're going to go about building it. And he had a couple things to say about the current idea of an all-electric or even a hybrid GTR. Let me give you a couple quotes that he said. He said, hybrid technology, EV battery technology is not there yet to deliver that kind of supercar. He was specifically talking about the idea of a GTR and at what level could these batteries and this hybrid technology deliver on that performance. I'm going to continue with what he said. He also said, basically, it's like it would complete one lap at Nürburgring, and then you have to recharge the car, and then that charging is going to take a while, and it's just not authentic. Even if all solid-state battery, referring to next-gen battery technology, you're not going to deliver the kind of performance expected out of a GTR. Here's what I'm trying to say. This senior VP, who's over the development, who's going to be over the idea of what the GTR is going to be, is basically telling us, listen, we know what the GTR is. We know what it needs to be. We know what people are expecting. And even with the latest technology in batteries and hybrid performance, we are going to lose something with the authenticity of what this car is. He's not saying that there won't be some form of electrification somewhere in this system, but making a full all hybrid system or making an all electric system just is not on the table. And I'm glad, okay, because I said before, there are certain cars that we are not far enough in the realm of the technology and the distance in between combustion and electric to justify taking some of these nameplates and just trying to make an electric version of it and hoping that the people that have been proponents of this model and have been buyers and enthusiasts of this model are just going to clap their hands and say, this is excellent. It does 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. This is awesome. But that's not everything we want. And he's speaking to something because he's speaking about the authenticity, which I think plays into what I said about the experience, the visceral nature, the character, the emotion of these cars. That to me comes from that authenticity. So if they're going to build a car and they're going to say, we're not going to have a combustion engine, it's only going to be EV, you're going to take away from that authenticity. And you're not going to have something that delivers on the nameplate that everybody has known for all these decades, starting with the original Skyline GTR all the way up to the current one now. And so really what I guess they're trying to get to is that the next GTR, it is confirmed, and he even said that there is some form of electrification in there. What he said in his most ideal situation was that if he could build one that had like 70 miles or so of pure EV, only to get around town, run an errand, drop off school, but basically pulls all of his power from the motor, that was his ideal setup. Now, in my head, that kind of sounds like hybrid, but I guess what he's trying to say is that the system only is there so that you can run it in electric mode up to that time, and you're only using a small battery. Where he said the solid state battery will come into play is that in a system like that, you'd only need like a 30 kilowatt hour solid state battery. It only is there to run it for those small amount of miles on EV only. It's not doing anything else. After that, the gas engine is the one that's kicking in, doing all the performance. And speaking about that engine, he confirmed it will remain a twin turbo V6. And he said that every iteration of the GTR has had an inline twin turbo, inline six. He said twin turbo inline sixes. So we're not about to just step away from that and throw in some 4-cylinder with 500 horsepower plus an electric motor with 300 and then say, oh, but it has 800 horsepower. He knows that part of that experience is part of that engine, the sound, the feeling, everything. It needs to be there. And one of the good things is that it's stated, or whatever the new motor is going to have over 600 horsepower. He did have a timeline. He said between 3 and 5 years, which is actually fairly short. I was thinking more like 7 years before we heard anything about a GTR. But according to his plan, 3 to 5 years from now, we're going to kind of see what the next iteration is going to be. Now, what is it going to look like? We didn't talk about that. But what he did say is that the current Armada has a version of a twin turbo V6 that is emission compliant up to 2032 because, you know, European standards is kind of really putting the ringer on folks when it comes to these cars that they're building. And it has some features in it like a GTR scavenger oil or scavenging oil pump. So I guess what he was trying to say is that a couple tweaks here and there, a couple forged internals or things of that nature, and that same motor is going to be finding itself inside of the GTR at a much higher output. All I'm saying is that it must be true, or not that it wasn't true before, but it sounds like the leadership at Nissan are truly car people, and they're paying attention to these ideas about what the car is and the history. I'm hoping that this trickles its way down to the next Nissan Z. It trickles its way down to the Nismo brand and what some of those models could be moving forward. It sounds like the people that are up there that are making the moves on certain cars are making the right decision. The GTR is going to be a huge one. They do this correct, and the trickle-down effect could be wonderful for the company. Obviously, this is a halo car. Everybody else is not going to have $200,000 to spend on it. But I'm just saying, if the GTR is great, then maybe we can bring back the Maxima, get back to the sports sedan side of things. Like, we can start getting back to sauce, get back to love. So, like we said, 3 to 5 years is 2025, 2030, 2028, probably when the time you're going to start hearing about it. And that is a good time to bring it around. He did say, though, which is actually interesting, he did say that they did make prototype all-electric GTRs. He said, unfortunately, when they were trying to go and test them and they would go and do a lap, they do like one lap around Nürburgring where you have to sit it down and charge it. They're dealing with thermal issues because of the batteries. It's an additional amount of weight because of all the batteries in there. So it sounds like Nissan did try. Like, they did try to see, hey, is this actually going to bring back the GTR name? It's going to bring back the idea of it and the history. And clearly it didn't, which is not a surprise. I mean, like, come on now. I said before, if we're going to make an all-electric GTR, please don't. It's just not the time. We're not there yet. We possibly could get there. There could be other things that come in play before then, but I'm just saying, we got to give it some time and not try to rush something that doesn't need to be rushed. We got time, okay? The R35 is still available. Folks are snatching R34s and 3s and 2s. Like, we got some time. Let things marinate for a bit. Now, speaking about GTR, Nissan sounded like they're going to correct, make sure they come correct on the next one. Subaru, who has been dropping the ball on the STI nameplate, the cars, everything, is actually back in the news, but this time they're actually blaming why they don't have an STI. So the statement came from the head of Subaru's European division. His name is David Dello Stritto, Stritto, if I said his last name correctly. Hopefully I did. But he said, ask the average person what Subaru means and they'll say STI. He ain't wrong. You can't disassociate this from Subaru, so we need to bring sportiness back to Subaru. Right now, we couldn't do it. Europe says you can't because you have a gasoline particle filter that can literally choke your engine. So here's what he's saying, because I don't even know, if I'm being frank, I don't know what particle gasoline filter he said could choke the engine. I'm confused, okay? But clearly, Europe's emission standards have been in the news many, many times because they're basically trying to get rid of you ever having a gas engine, honestly. At the pace that they're going, they're saying by 2032, we're not selling no brand new gas engines. They're not going to be in none of these cities. They don't want people driving the cities. They want you on bicycles, skateboards, and walking, okay? So the city, or not the city, but the country that was always getting the greatest of the sports wagons, sedans, coupes, cars that the U.S. could never get, is now, I wouldn't say turning their back on the history, but in a way they are, because they're not saying anything helping these companies moving forward to reintroduce that sportiness. However, Subaru, the reason I'm saying they're making excuses, and I understand that they're saying that the emission standards and everything that they have to do for the European division is not helping them make easy calls or easy development when it comes to making a new STI. But I'm saying that ain't good enough. I'm going to tell you why. Okay, it's hard. Okay, you got to make new emissions. You can't reach them. You got to develop an engine. Is it impossible? That's my thing. Are we talking about what they're asking for is impossible? Like, you can't develop a motor? There's no way you can do it? And on another thing, the U.S. market, when it came to the WRX STI, was the largest market globally. It was bigger than Japan. It was bigger than Australia. It was bigger than Europe. It was bigger than all of these other places. The U.S. market was the bread and the butter, or I would say a not insignificant amount of percentage above all these other regions when it came to how many WRX STI models were being purchased. So I say it's high time that we get a model that nobody else gets. How hard is it to do that? I don't understand what the confusion is. He's worried about Europe. I'm like, all right, cool. Y'all can't do it in Europe. Oh, well. hey, sorry, guys. It's our turn now. Go ahead and make one for the U.S. model and bring back that sportiness, because what he's asking to do, you could use the base of the current WRX, beef up the things you need to, and still deliver an STI. And listen, if it only can be available for the US market, Canada, Mexico, all these other places, if Europe is unavailable, then they're unavailable. I mean, all the years of the cars that couldn't come to the US for all the other dumb reasons, like the headlights weren't on our FTC regulation or whatever it may be, we didn't get the model. It didn't stop them from building it. They built plenty of cars in the Europe region and all the other regions that were only for them. Small bespoke models, 1,000 here, 1,000 there. So guess what? If the US market is now available for you to make something that is true STI, and the other regions that you're in are not applicable, or they can't adjust their rules and regulations, then hey, listen, I'm sorry, guys, you missed out this time. Now, what he did say is that the sportiness that he's talking about, unfortunately, speaks about an EV. And the reason I'm talking about this after the GTR is because it all coincides. Nissan understands what the GTR is. Subaru, I think, is starting to not understand what the STI is, even though he's making this statement talking about how important it is to the image and the idea of who Subaru is. But if you're telling me that the idea of you making a new STI is going to be delivered by making an electric version, listen, it's not going to be a good look. Not right now. As I said before, I'm not opposed to the idea of an electric version of any car. I think that there will be a time when we're there. But when you see the current landscape of all manufacturers who have been changing plans, making new plans, going about it a different way, you understand that the market, the people that are buying the cars, are not leaning towards these nameplates that they've known and loved in the sports car divisions, jumping at the idea of an electric version. So, listen, if you're an STI fan, right, the writing's been on the wall, but I mean, like, he's confirming, like, what the history is going to be like, because if they don't even want to make something for us in the US or any other region that doesn't have these draconian rules for emissions by a certain amount of years, then they ain't trying to do it. So if you want an STI, listen, I'm telling you now, you need to go and get one from 2021 and down, okay? Because it's the current call. Like, we heard about the WRX. We've seen other models that keep bringing out, trying to tease us, throwing the STI and badge on any and everything they could to hope to trick folks into believing it's truly what it is. If the head of the European region is saying, yeah, I know these aren't STIs. He's even telling you without saying it. You read between those lines. He knows all them models that I've been talking about and shrugging my shoulders about. He even knows those aren't real STIs. So I'm just saying, if he knows they're not building any, you better go grab the one you can, okay? Because I'm just telling you, it's just not what it should be, unfortunately. I wish I had another thing to say about it, but that's just what it is. But continuing on with Subaru, though, I am going to get into this is good news, because Subaru isn't just the STI. I know I talk about it so much in the WRX, but I understand that there are a lot more than just those models. And the one that makes probably a ton of money for them is the new Outback. So at the New York Auto Show, 2025 New York Auto Show, and speaking about the New York Auto Show, I like reading about it. It just made me reminisce about how many times I went to that auto show. When I used to live on the East Coast, even when I was younger, that New York Auto Show, Jacob Javits, I went all the time. Every single year as a kid, I would go there all the time. That's actually where I met Jay-Z. I know that's a random. That is a super random story, but I'm just give it to you real quick. Back in the day, if anybody wasn't big into hip hop in their late 90s, early 2000s, you may not remember the song he had with Jermaine Dupri called Money Ain't a Thing. And in the video, they were driving a Ferrari, and he was in a Porsche 911, 996 era, okay? So, at the Jacob Javits Center, I don't even know what year this was. I want to say 99, 2000 or something like that. The Porsche had just shown off the 996 model of the brand new 911, and they had it at the auto show. And for some odd reason, you could actually sit inside of one. So when I was waiting in line to sit inside the driver's seat, I got inside the driver's seat, and Jay-Z was there, I guess, amongst a crowd of people prior to the video shoot, looking at the car, and then just jumped inside the passenger side. I just said what's up to him. I'm a young kid on my old snap, Jay-Z. Now, he wasn't the Jay-Z y'all know now, billionaire and all the extra huge accolades. I'm just saying he was just a well-known New York rapper we all knew about. So I met him there. I'm just saying. Listen, and after that, the video came out, and that same Porsche was in the video, so I figured he was there to look at the car and buy it. I know, random side story, but there you go. My little celebrity run-in with one of the greatest rappers of all time. Now, back to the 2026 Subaru Outback. So they redesigned it. The Outback now is, I'm going to say this. Subaru is working their way to make the Outback an SUV without them trying to do it, because it's always been a wagon. That was always the appealing part of it. It was like a wagon, sat high, lower center of gravity compared to SUV. They made an SUV to answer that call with the accent. Well, not the accent, the Ascent. And that was their 3-row SUV. However, as you can see from this picture, this new Outback is, I'm going to hold my full opinion on the outside look, other than to say that the front end is extremely boxy now. It's very boxy. It looks like it sits even higher. The rear of it, as you can see from the photos, it's more squared off. There's a huge amount of plastic cladding, and I think we already know that that's Subaru's game plan when it comes to making these off-road vehicles. And they said it has aggressive or just tough design elements. So like all the angles are like trapezoids and hexagons and sharp angles, as you can see, in the body cladding on it and the wheels and the way it's lifted. When you see the stance from this video, if you haven't watched the video, please, man, handle that. Okay. I'm on Spotify and on YouTube, besides the audio. Now, what I'm saying is the stance of the new 2026 Outback is very SUV-ish. When you get the squared off body, wagons usually kind of slope in some angle or some way to make you understand that it is kind of based on the chassis of a car, but it's a wagon. This now is just squared off. The front overhangs are sharp 90-degree angles, basically. The rear overhang, 90-degree angle. Even the roof line is more sharp angle. So when you look at the side profile, honestly, I wouldn't be mad if you said that's an SUV, because it's going so far away from how a wagon normally looks. And that might be on purpose. And it could be a smart move, because instead of trying to purposely take away from the people that actually buy Outbacks, and there's a huge amount of people that buy into them, they like the fact that it's a wagon. So I know if they try to take the name Outback and make it a true SUV, it wouldn't work out for them. But I'm not mad at the overall look, because the rugged, aggressive nature of it is what I expect. It's an Outback. It's called a Subaru Outback. You see them all over the place. If you live in Colorado, they're everywhere. I've seen them. My sister used to own one. She upgraded to the Ascent, but she had one on the East Coast. And when it comes to all-wheel drive, ability to move through the snow, to mud, it's hard to beat. I've recommended that car to plenty of people that have asked me about like certain cars, and I think I want to get an SUV. And I've said, hey, don't discount the Outback, because it gives you all those features without you necessarily have to drive around in some gigantic SUV if you don't want to do that. Especially if you live in a place like in the city, you want to be able to park it easy, drive it easy. Sometimes you don't need that. I just need the clearance and the snow capability. Now, the changes that they've done for this model year, the interior has been cleaned up. No longer is this a giant tablet dash screen. It's cleaned up. It's still a large 12-inch infotainment screen, but it now kind of sits higher up on the dashboard. There's a different separation between dashboard and lower dashboard. There's air, AC, and heat controls. Have tactical buttons. Have real buttons now. Everything isn't just in a screen. Even though the screen is large, it is a better integrated. And I think a lot of this comes from the fact that a lot of people, when it came to giant tablet screens on dashboards, are starting to say, listen, we don't need this thing to be 10 feet long in the center of the console. Like, please allow me to have a cubby hole or something, or some separation. So I think the interior is an improvement over the last year, or even improvement over anything that Subaru has done as of recent when it comes to their very large screen in the center. I like this integration better. The powertrains remain the same to the last year. So you can get 180 horsepower, 2.4 liter flat four. You can bump that up to 260, 277 foot-pound of torque, turbo 4, all-wheel drive. They still has the CVT transmission. And I think that's one of the knocks. I mean, I've driven it. It's decent. I know that if it had a standard automatic, I think this car would be even better. I think it'll perform even better in day-to-day errands and driving, even fuel economy, even though the CVT is built to have the best fuel economy because of how it has a continuous changing of gears. But I just think a better transmission down the line would actually help Subaru when it comes to the CVT. And because if you read reviews and if you haven't driven one, I mean, that's always the weak point. Everything else is not good. We understand what this is. We like it. We know who it's for. But then when they get to the transmission and the drive, it's always talking about the CVT and just it's a lackluster engagement and just overall driving character, so to speak. So you're stuck with the CVT until Subaru makes its way to making something new for that, and we don't even know if they are. And there is another option called the Wilderness version, which I'm purposely taking the time out to talk about this because while I said the front end of this new 2026 one it's very squarish, kind of smush face, but I'm not totally mad at this. I do understand what the Outback is aiming for. And like I said, a lot of times you got to see the stuff in person. The Wilderness version, though, I mean, it takes that already kind of questionable front end, or just questionable in the sense of I got to see it in person. I got to stand next to it and just see if I can get with the rugged look. The Wilderness version takes the rugged nature of the front end to a higher level because it has bigger like pillars of cladding right down the center, big Subaru badge in the front. It reminds me of a pickup truck. Like if you saw this on a Tundra or some other pickup truck, it would fit in, which is why I'm saying they're really trying to push towards SUV. Like they're really making their way towards making sure that the wagon can kind of blend in with everything. And when you get the Wilderness version, you do get a higher center of your ground clearance. You get 1 inch higher. Each model comes with this X mode, dual mode, which allows you to have snow and dirt modes. And then it says snow, deep snow, and then more like, I guess, more aggressive mud. Just basically it changes how the drivetrain is working when it comes to the all-wheel drive system to get through those areas and get through those inclement weather, or if you're just out somewhere on the Outback, or out in the overlanding world and you get stuck in some mud or anything. And the Wilderness one adds those gold accents that they have used on each one of those models. But if you want, I do like the fact that they've changed the front end on the Wilderness one, because instead of you feeling like you have just a model with a trim level, now you get something that shows, hey, I do have a different model complete from the other model itself. There isn't word on the release, but 2026, I'm assuming is coming either the third quarter or the fourth quarter. We might be in the third quarter right now, but I believe end of this year is coming. Price point wasn't discussed. I would think it'd be similar to the current Outback, give or take. Maybe if they have to increase the price, given tariffs and all these other things that are going on, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 more. I don't see them trying to do some drastic change in price. So it is good to see that, and good to see Subaru continuing on a top seller, even if I want an STI. But continuing on, Kia has the K4 sedan, right? Now the K4 sedan is something that I had the pleasure of driving last week when I was at the Texas Auto Riders Texas Roundup 25. Now, I've talked about this before. I said in my podcast before the interview that I was going to go and test drive these cars. And let me tell you, it was a great time. We'll talk about that later at the end of the episode. But one of the cars I got to drive was the K4 sedan. I came away from that impressed, not only from the feature set, the quality, the ride, the powertrain, and the price. Like what it was loaded and how much it cost compared to the current market was shocking. When I was at the Houston Auto Show, I saw it. And when I saw the Monroney in the window, I said, that's the price? It's like, it was under $32,000. They're like, yeah, it's fully loaded. I'm like, what? I'm like, I thought it had the look of like high 30s or getting close to 40,000, because even cars like a Toyota Corolla can get up to those price points. So it's not far-fetched to see that in subcompact small cars. That's just the name of the game right now. But Kia is continuing their wave of doing stuff really interesting, thinking outside the box and throwing in just flavor into the mix. Some sazon. They're throwing in a K4 hatchback. And me being a lover of hatchbacks, I'm already on board. Not that I'm buying the K4, but if you gave me the option of the sedan or the hatchback version of the exact same car, I'm taking the hatchback. And so the new K4 hatchback looks like this. It comes in a special yellow color that's only going to be available on the highest trim K4 hatchback, which it's like a goldish, yellowish color. Looks nice. The overall side profile looks nice. From the way the hatchback is built, the invisible door handles in the rear for the 4 doors, the front end, it takes from the same K4, the headlights and the taillights are all the same, but now you got this kind of sharp, angular hatchback, and I'm a fan of this. You get the same powertrains that are available in the K4 sedan, 147 horsepower 4-cylinder or 190 horsepower turbo 4. You can get all the way up to the GT line, the GT turbo line, which is what this gold one is going to be on. And all of this is still going to be under $32,000. It starts at $23,165 for the base model. The turbo model started at $29,265. The one I tested for the sedan, full tilt, all the options, was under $32,000. I'm assuming that this is going to be the same thing because Kia packs a lot of stuff into their cars for little amount of money. And what I'm saying by that is digital displays, digital, large screen, heated seats and features and sound systems and creature comforts, all of this inside of the K4 sedan, which I've talked about before. And you're going to see, and I reviewed it too. So if you're listening to this and you want to know my full detail on what the K4 sedan was like, my car review of the K4 sedan from the Texas Auto Roundup is going to show up on the YouTube channel very soon. If not, right when you're hearing this, it should already be up there. But getting back to how this looks, I just like the fact that we're getting a hatchback, because one of the rumors was that we didn't know if we were going to get it, that Kia may just kept it in the Asian markets or any other markets, just not in the US. But they said and confirmed and said it will be coming to US showrooms. That is impressive considering the fact that, well, actually, I was going to say that not a lot of manufacturers offer that, but really the only person that doesn't have everybody has a hatchback version of their small car. There's a Civic, and there's a Civic hatchback and a Civic sedan. There's a Corolla sedan. There's a Corolla hatchback because I drive the GR version of that. So everybody kind of does that. So I guess what Kia is doing is making sure that they're on par with all their competition. If Honda and Toyota are doing it, Kia's like, I'm going to do it too. And it's nice to see that type of competition and options. And I like this a lot. I mean, I would, listen, if you were in between all three of those and you're trying to make a decision, I might lean on the Kia. Now, back to Subaru real quick. And Subaru was really in the news because they just announced a bunch of new cars because they're at the New York Auto Show, so they're showing off a bunch of new things. And one of the cars that I've spoken about previously is the Solterra, which is their electric SUV that they teamed up with Toyota, who has what's called the BZ4X. I was never the biggest fan of this SUV. Even when it came to the looks, not even that, the interior of it was just always this overly funky design for the driver. Now, the 2026 Solterra gets better range, 285 miles on a charge. The power from the electric drivetrain, the electric motors, is up to 338 horsepower. And the overall look, as you can see here, is, I say slightly better. I say slightly better because the previous model needed an improvement. This one does improve certain areas, but it then introduces some other questionable design features. Like the front end of it, as you can see here, is too much just blank space. I know they're I don't know if they're trying to emulate how like the Model Y Tesla is very kind of bland, blank, lot of body in the front, no breakup of grille or character lines. Not that this doesn't have that, it just looks kind of off. And I don't know what it could be, but the front end of it, I feel like the grille should have been bigger or some integration should have been better. But it is an improvement over the previous model. It just introduces another kind of maybe love it or hate it design that I don't think they had to do, but I think that's what we ended up at just because they're trying to clean up everything. So the Solterra gets a boost in range, a boost in power. The interior does get a bit of a tweak, even though the driver's steering wheel and the way that's designed, which where I had my critiques on, that has been improved. Now the driver gets a display in front of them. The center console display, the infotainment system is now a larger 14-inch screen with faster processing, better intuitive interface, UI, and things like that. So they are cleaning up the interior to get away from the previous Solterra. So that is an improvement. But the model that I really want to talk about that piggybacks off of the Solterra, that brings together some of the same technology. I don't think it's the same. I believe it's the same chassis. It's called the Trail Seeker. Now, I didn't even know Subaru had this under their arm, but the Trail Seeker is a larger electric SUV, bigger than the Solterra by over 6 inches in length. That's substantial. However, it also has more power. So instead of 338 horsepower, this one has 375. The however part comes from the range. The Solterra does 285 miles. This one does 260. 150 kilowatt charging speed, 120 volt outlets. It has the NACS ports, the Tesla ports on it, so that allows the charge any of the Tesla supercharge stations. A 72.7 kilowatt hour battery. Now, I do think that this looks better for this quick little render. This looks better to me than the Solterra. What I find interesting is who this is for. Now, 0 to 60, they said is 4.3 seconds, which is an interesting stat to put out there. It can tow up to 3,500 pounds, and it has 8.3 inches of ground clearance, and it utilizes the same X mode, dual mode that all the Subaru cars, SUVs are looking to have. So remember, the Outback had that. Now this one has it, the same ability to go through snow, dirt modes, deep snow, mud modes as well. So that it helps grip control and it changes the suspension and things like that so you can get through these areas, right? And it has the same Subaru all-wheel drive system that we've known and loved. The interior it looks even better than the Solterra. It takes that same center console 14-inch screen, but this design is a lot cleaner, more purposeful for the Trail Seeker. Very split, design for the dashboard. The steering wheel is a very clean look. It looks, it's like a two-tone light gray, dark gray from the picture they shown, but the interior is clean. It's clean. It's nothing, it's not going to blow you away, but it also looks purposeful. It looks like it is easy to maintain. And if it's like Subaru and the Trail Seeker outdoors, I'm sure that it has material that is easily washable. It doesn't tear, it doesn't fall apart. So it looks good. What I don't understand is why the range would be lower than the Solterra on such a larger vehicle. Why they didn't put a larger battery in it. That's an interesting choice. They didn't talk about the price. It runs the same technology as Solterra, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless chargers. It has the Subaru EyeSight 80AS, which is their safety feature suite that has gotten plenty of accolades for what they do when it comes to looking at the driver. No hands-free cruise control options. So it's a very well thought out safety suite of features. It's just that the Trail Seeker, to me, because of the size, and I do like how it looks, and the fact that they're touting it as like a much larger SUV, why wouldn't it have a larger battery? Now, I don't know what the price is. They didn't talk about that. The Solterra is around a $40,000 SUV. If this is bigger, I'm thinking this is going to cost $50,000 or 47 is going to start at, or 45. I don't think it's going to be cheap. And so I wonder what it's going to mean for Subaru to get people behind this as a sales. And I think this one is also built in Japan as well, like the Solterra. And if it is, maybe it's assembled in Japan. I don't know what that means for the current nature of the tariffs and what that means for cars built in Japan and what Subaru's going to do. But I do like how it looks. I'm not mad that it's all EV. It does give people another option. If you want something that isn't EV and has off-road capability, I just talked about the Outback. The Ascent is probably getting redesigned as well too. So you have options. But the Trail Seeker was shown off at the New York Auto Show. And that is scheduled, if it's a 2026, I'm assuming it's scheduled to come out sometime at the end of this year. And we'll get more details on that at that time. Now, going into something that's just from a company that has been knocking it out the park so consistently, Genesis is back with another wild concept. This is the Grand X Coupe Equator concept. And listen, I don't have to keep saying it. Genesis right now, when it comes to designing cars and concepts, is knocking it out the park every single time. And now this is pure concept, which I do like. I like getting back to that era of concepts. Like I used to go to auto shows, like back to New York Auto Show, waiting to see the concepts, waiting to see them spin around on the turnstile. I want to see the ideas that may or may not ever come to production. This doesn't look like it's coming to production in its full capacity, but some of the design choices here, I could easily see them placed onto the street. It won't be that hard. Interior, though, is where I want to spend some time to talk about, because this interior is absolutely fire. Okay, this it's kind of hard to describe this, but to me, it has like a nautical feel for how they designed, or like an aviation type of feel. It's a lot of switchgear, a lot of elements of leather, suede, luxury. It is an EV, or it has a design that it seems like it's an EV. They didn't talk about the powertrain, and the front hood is long enough to stick whatever motor they want in there. The cool part would be some twin turbo V6 that has a bunch of torque and power. The idea of this becoming a reality to me would be easier built if they stuck an EV motor in this. I don't know what they're going to do, but the interior marries both ideas, because you have gauges in the center, you have tactical buttons in the center, you have a full large center console that goes to the back. The seats are designed with this two-tone tan leather, dark navy leather at the top. The rear area has like distinct areas to hold some cup holders you see in the picture. It's more like water bottles, so it's like more of the outdoors desert runners, because it has giant beadlock, like 24-inch wheels on it. It looks dope. It looks dope. This idea of this luxury off-road capable concept car, it's not a far-fetched idea for them to build. If people are buying Range Rovers, then I can see them saying we're going to tap into that ultra luxury market. It's beyond whatever the GV80 is and the GV60. This would, maybe it's like the GV90, but even if they took this concept and executed almost everything you see here, this would be even more expensive, and it would kind of shoot up even higher. But the idea of just them showing the concept and looking at what it could be, and just having fun again, honestly, just having fun again with these cars and just designing something. One of the other cool features, that if you look at the top down view, the roof has like an opening, like skylight for each occupant, because it's a 4-seater situation. Now, it's not a panoramic, which is what probably most people want, but it's kind of cool to have your own like personal little skylight. And I guess it adds an ability to kind of run something on a roof line. Like maybe you put some TVs up there, maybe you kind of add some features to design elements, but each occupant has his own little skylight that you see on the roof there. This is, like I said, pure concept. They didn't talk about it coming out. I would imagine if they were pure concept on this model, is that some ideas of this are going to kind of trickle their way down to some of the models inside of the lineup, maybe the next, SUV or the next GV90. All I'm saying is that Genesis is knocking it out the park. They're winning. If you've been stuck on what Genesis was doing maybe years ago when they first started, like, get that idea out your head, because the game has thoroughly changed. Now, there was a cool thing I did see. Speaking about like kind of off-roady type vehicles, there's a company in Britain, or a British outfit. I don't know if they're necessarily in Britain, but they're called Get Lost, and they made a Safari Lotus Elise, and it looks like this. Okay, you got to see this picture. Go look it up. If you're not watching, listen to the audio. I implore you, take some notes and say, look up Lotus Elise Safari, built by an outfit called Get Lost. And I mean, just by the looks, I don't know why, but it fits so well. I'm almost surprised that this is the first time we're getting somebody to make a Safari version of an Elise, because it works so well. The larger wheels, the high ride height, the fog lights in the front, the air scoop that they made in the rear is really the talking point, because it splits down into the motor. They didn't talk about what motor it is. I'd imagine it's probably a similar engine that the Lotus Elise already has, but the twin, tunnels for the air intake that's hovering above your head, That's a fire option. They didn't talk about a price. They said that they are they're taking letters from interested parties. That means it's a dumb expensive. Okay. If you got to take in letters of intent or letters of interest, it means that you're emailing them back saying, okay, if you want one of these, just know it's going to be $250,000. And then people are going to say, for an lease? They're like, yeah, because we're going to have to take this apart, rip this apart. I mean, this is a bespoke full build, down to the headlights, down to the fog lights, to the wheels, to the arches, to the way they had to modify the chassis to do this. So this is a full-on build. This is the type of thing I love. And if they do it like a little turbo 4 in there, at least it's already light as it is. And it's still an aluminum body. So you imagine it's had like 250 horsepower, quick, fast, rowdy, little off-trail runner, little pre-runner, so to speak. I mean, for me, this in like a city street would be a fantastic time. It's like a city bomber. You just hitting train tracks and dips and potholes with ease. You're not even stressed. You're like, man, whatever. I'm taking over. Now, they didn't say if the letters of intent had a price tag associated with it, just given how this thing looks and the fact that it's coming from a small company doing their own thing and making a bespoke all-around vehicle. Like I said, if they said 200,000, I wouldn't even be surprised, because that's just what things cost if you're trying to do it yourself like that. Now, getting into something else that is available for you or will be very soon, and I'm actually surprised we're getting this, because I'll be honest, I thought this ship or this idea or this market was dwindling down, and that is the wagons. We already know that a lot of wagons, I mean, Volvo got rid of the V60 Polestar, but here comes Mercedes for 2026, bringing to the U.S. the E53 wagon, which is a shocker. This one sits under the M5 and the Audi RS6, and also under the E63 wagon. I believe that's still here as well. So the E53 wagon, which is no slouch because it has 577 horsepower or 604 horsepower in race mode, 3-liter turbo inline six with an electric motor that makes 161 horsepower, 0 to 60, 3.8 seconds in race start mode, carbon ceramic brakes, AMG Dynamic Plus package, active engine mounts, electronic rear diff, a top speed of 174 miles an hour, 21.2 kilowatt battery in the trunk for the electric motor, a 4,200 pound weight. It's probably more because the sedan weighs 4,244 pounds. So I'm imagining this is probably closer to like 4,400 pounds. But just in general, the E-Wagons look so good, elegant, sexy, sporty, aggressive. You see this one here. And you can also get this in an edition 1, which comes like a matte black AMG 1, AMG wheels and AMG specific interior and the yellow. But this just looks good. I mean, the front end looks dope. It looks like a Mercedes. The interior, obviously, we've critiqued Mercedes when it comes to the copious amounts of screen real estate that they use up on the dashboard, and this is no different. It's not a hyper screen that covers from the driver to the passenger, but it is still a lot of screen in the center and in the front. It's not as... The steering wheel is good. The dashboard layout when it comes to the screens, I wish could be better. I wish we can get back to the older designs when it had like the round air vents. It just had that era had a more elegant, like special feeling. This one does look good, but I can tell that we are beholden to the screens and making everything look very minimalist. And so we kind of lose some of that previous character and flair. But a 600 horsepower wagon being available in the US alongside an M5 wagon, which we finally got, alongside the E63 and alongside an Audi RS6 is crazy. And it'll be cheaper, but cheaper is relative. It's still $90,000 for the sedan. So if the sedan starts at $90,000 for an E53, this is going to be like $92,000 or $94,000, $100,000. Okay, while it is cheaper than $120,000 that the M5 starts at, it's still a grip. Okay, it's still out of the budget of 99% of us or 90% of us. I just know that I don't have $100,000 to spend on a wagon. And if I was going to get a wagon, I still have my heart with the M5 wagon. The E53 AMG version is nice. Really, really nice. And maybe as I work my way up into the ranks, I get myself at the keys of one for a week. You gotta throw that stuff out there, manifest, as they say. I gotta work my way to there. And I did. And I did. Before I get out of here, I did work my way up to that. So last week, was it last week? Man, time is flying. No, the week before that, it was the Texas Auto Riders Association had an event called the Texas Auto Roundup. I was blessed to be able to go there and be invited and be accepted as a member into the organization. And it was just a great experience, a great learning experience, a great connection and networking, meeting different people that do this all full time, all the time, the work they've done, hearing feedback for the stuff I've done so far, having people check out a podcast of mine and come back to me and say, you're doing good. Your content is good. Keep it going. Do not stop. So it just kind of, fueled the fire of what I've been saying before for years that I've been doing this, saying I'm working my way for the marathon. As Nipsey Hussle said, the marathon continues. So I got to drive a number of cars. I couldn't drive everything. There was like 24 cars. And that's another learning experience too, is like you realize how much effort it takes to actually drive a car, get an impression of it in a small amount of time, and make a compelling bit of content and discussion about the car, and then have it be something that can resonate with people who've never seen, driven, or been in the car, and they can kind of relate to what you're saying. So it's not an easy thing to do, and it does take effort and time. And even when I thought I was going quickly, you can try to make yourself have a 40-minute window of like, let me get through this car and just see what it is. And you can blow right past that because I like talking. Hence why I have a podcast and I'm just talking on the microphone all the time. But I got to drive the Kia K4, the Acura ZDX, the new Toyota 4Runner, the 2026 redesigned one, the automatic GR Corolla, a McLaren Artura, which was an amazing experience to drive that car. And I know I'm missing something. There's something else I'm missing. I can't remember. But in total, I got to, and the Daytona Charger EV Scat Pack, which was a surprise hit for me because even with the controversy around the Charger EV and how people feel about it and what Dodge has done, I came away from driving that car like I enjoyed it. The Fratzonic exhaust made me smile. I was like, listen, gimmick or not, it's cool. I wasn't mad at it. So I got to drive those cars. I recorded them. A few of them are already up on my YouTube channel. So if you're not following the CarQuicks YouTube channel, please go and do that. Subscribe to it. Check out the review I did for the 4Runner, the ZDX from Acura, and the GR Corolla Automatic Edition. All three of those are doing well. And like I said, it's my first foray into truly having content based on automotive reviews, and I have a few more that got to come out for the other cars I drove because I got to edit those. I didn't feel like editing every single thing and just dumping them all out at the same time and trying to spread the love a little bit through the weeks as they go on. But what that event showed me is how much I do want to do this, right? Like sometimes you think like you want to do something in your head because talking about a car, it's easier for me to do this on a podcast because I read the news. I put ideas in my head of things I like to talk about, and I speak about it on the microphone. I look at a camera. But when you're reviewing a car, you have to then articulate how it is that you're feeling, what it is you're experiencing, how it's going, how it can relate to a consumer or another person. And that's a lot of work. It's not easy. It's hooking the cameras up, making sure you have the right angle. And I did decently for that. I mean, I know now that I need even more cameras like I need like small DJI action cameras or something. I have one GoPro that I use to mount on the headrest to kind of get a couple angles, but I do need more for those other shots outside the car, next to the car. And it shows you how difficult it is to do a solo, because if you want to flyby, it's really hard to do that because we didn't have time to set up a camera on the tripod and do a flyby. But it showed the effort it takes. Like, I have much respect to all the people that do this full time. Not that I didn't know it took work, but to experience it myself, put things in even more of a perspective. I was like, oh man, this does take work, but it's a fun time and it's awesome. And the connections, the people I got to see, this is being the only first one I've done. I'm working my way to get to the next one. Now, there is one happening for another organization that's in the Midwest that I want to join. I don't know if I can get to that event, but just getting involved with these organizations, that's my goal, is to just sign up, become a member for them, put my name out there, put my word out there, put my hat in the mix, and just continue to try to talk and work my way through it so that I can get in front of these people and get better access to the things I want to do and to get to access to these cars, because it's not impossible. I can do this. So there's more coming. I might have another interview next week with a gentleman in a very, very special car. I mean, very special. If you like JDM cars, this is top, okay? And I'm not just talking about the model. I'm talking about the people who built it. This is historic top, okay? So hopefully that goes through next week, because if it does, that's going to be just for me, not even for the content. I'm excited to get in front of this car, look around it, touch it, feel it, and then actually talk to the owner about it and talk about his story about him acquiring it, because it's a cool story. Now, GR Corolla updates before I get out of here. There are updates, okay? A fair amount of them. Intercooler got put on. I didn't put the video out. I'm going to put the video out soon, because I got to go and do a video of me driving the car, because I've had it on there and I took a road trip. Well, I had to go to a work road trip up to the Dallas area. And so I drove it up there. And the way that the GR Corolla works, and the way I've said it over and over again, is that when it comes to putting parts on this car, the ECU has learning capabilities. So if you drive it for some time, it will change how it reacts and how it drives when you have the car. So I put the intercooler on, 6-element. I mean, already you could tell from just the gauges, the cooling effect it has at night. Oh boy, when the air is dense, this thing is moving. Now, something else did happen though that ain't so great. Now, not the intercooler. The intercooler is fine. I did have to adjust the hose clamps. When I first put it on, I kept getting this whistling sound. And the clamps that I was using from the company HCL, I had to like really crank down. And I thought I was like actually tightening up a lot. But I talked to my friend Chris, and he said, oh, no. You got to get in there and really crank it down. Once I did that, problem solved. However, the other issue that happened was I want to change out my exhaust, right? I'm running one from 6-element as well, but I'm in the mood for a change. I kind of want to make it quieter, which sounds, I'm just getting old. That's just what it is. I just had that exhaust for so long that I wanted to change it out. And so I was like, you know what? Let me take it off. Maybe I can find somebody that's looking for going into the 6-element exhaust, but I wanted to try out something else new. And we're kind of working some angles with some companies to kind of do that. But when I took off the exhaust, I realized that the weld by the muffler that connects to the pipes that go to the mid pipe was literally cracked all around. So I was like, what? And now I did have an issue one time when I did a really hard pull and the car said reduce engine power, which led me to believe that it was because the sensor for the actuator for the exhaust valve was too close to the muffler and it was heating up. But I think I was also getting a lot of blow by because of how big this crack was around the muffler. Now, granted, this doesn't really happen that often. We don't live in a salted winter climate. But I did reach out to them. They're sending me a new muffler. Now, am I going to put it back on the car? Because I put the OEM exhaust back on the car now, so it's nice and quiet. I don't know. I might still take this as a springboard to either sell the exhaust and get something else. I thought about getting another exhaust, but now I might sell it for now and then use it to buy suspension or use it to kind of get towards wheels or some other aesthetic things I want to do. I'm on the fence right now. I will have another exhaust very soon, but there are certain ones I want to try out. So I'm trying to see if I can find a way that I can partner with somebody, make it a content, make it a collaboration. So I'm going to start reaching out to the companies and saying, hey, I want to kind of showcase your stuff. Here's the work that I do. Maybe we can have something that aligns well with your business and, just the way I've done it before. Okay. So hold on for that. It could happen. It may not happen, but listen, you don't know until you try. The worst thing that could happen is they could tell me no. That's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is they say yes. Middle ground would be, hey, let us find a middle place to, work together. So I'm going to work on that. But until then, do as you wish and do as you may. I'll see you guys next week. We are back to the scheduled program. This one came a little late during the week, but hey, it's here, okay? beggars can't be choosers. Okay, patience is a virtue. But I'll be here next week. Tap into the YouTube channel, tap into the car reviews, tap into the GR Corolla build, tap into the vlogs I did. I was at the Super Lap Battle at Dakota at Circuit of the Americas. Tap into all the content if you choose to, if you feel like you want to, if you're compelled to. And until then, I'll see y'all around. This is Cameron Biggs, your host. Episode 92 of the CarQuicks podcast. I'll see y'all around. Peace.